The judiciary and of course even the LSK decided to take a position on this matter. I just highlighted what happened with the lawyers' boycott of intended boycott of court proceedings that never took off. Of course the headline on page 12 of the Standard indicates that there are divisions within the LSK, that lawyers split right in the middle, those supporting such a move, those against it. Should we therefore say that this yellow ribbon, because I can see you, you have your yellow ribbon with you, yes. George Kithi doesn't have his. Is this the kind of division you're talking about, that this is a split, that there are those who, yes, are with the protest, that those who feel it is unnecessary? George, do you feel that protest was unnecessary?
Well, first I have my yellow ribbon. It's just that it's on a different jacket I think we are today, but I'm going to don it.
Okay.
Now, I want to put it this way, that there are certain issues that lawyers agree with, and I don't think there's a split. The fact that court orders must be obeyed is an unnegotiable issue to any lawyer worth his salt, and therefore I do think there's consonance in that, there's agreement among all lawyers in that. You know, if orders are not going to be obeyed, honestly, we won't have anywhere to practice.
So where does the split come in?
The split comes into the execution of the mandate of Law Society as constituted now. You see, we've had a Law Society that has, over time, especially in the emergence or the run to the elections, that have not then held the responsibility as the calling in the Act. We have the president of the Law Society who seems, and seemingly so, supports not NASA but the ODM side. We have the deputy who supports the Jubilee side. Now, that is not what it's supposed to be. When then you make pronouncements consistently towards a certain political dispensation, and your opposite or your deputy says the opposite, then what you've done is you lose the leadership credibility and legitimacy. So what then consisted that has happened, instead of unifying the lawyers to fight the injustice in society, which comes sometimes from both ends and from far and wide, you then lose that because you lose the focus. Yes. Now, I say this because I personally feel that the president of the society and the deputy have not performed their duties as is supposed to be, because of the fact that they are lost in this whole political fight that we've had. Now, when it comes to sobriety, when we're supposed to deal with the issues as have come out from a political exercise, the division in society and in Kenya, and therefore things that are antecedent to that, including such issues as Miguna, we are supposed to collectively be fighting it. If there's a disobedience of a court order, we're supposed to collectively,
it should be a collective
and
move.
We're supposed to pronounce ourselves on many other issues, include oath-taking, whether it's legal or illegal, and give a way forward to that. That is the leadership that we have not had.
We are aware, of course, elections, LSK elections are coming up in a week's time, in about 7 days. You are one of those who wanted to contest for the presidency. The courts did not allow you to. Incidentally, I still see your billboards around town. That you're still vying for the presidency of the LSK. How much of that has affected this? Because as your colleague here says, the LSK should be at the forefront in coming out to actually condemn what's happening with the apparent assault on the judiciary by the executive, yet you've allowed your own internal politics to actually weaken your stand on some issues.
Yes, there is a lot of division within the Law Society, but let me address this issue sequentially. First and foremost, it is my honest belief that several individuals who control operations in the judiciary and the LSK were behind that ridiculous decision that was made to exclude me from running as LSK president, for obvious reasons, because I've been very abrasive. I've spoken openly against the state, where the state goes wrong. I've spoken openly against even the leadership of the Law Society without differentiation. And it is for that reason that there is a lot of discomfort within this senior group of lawyers in the judiciary, in the cartel. But we've made an appeal before the Court of Appeal. It is our hope that they will not interfere with this process, as we suspect they're about to, and the Court of Appeal will allow me to run for office. But let's go back now to the issue within the Law Society. I think the division within the Law Society is more than what my colleague seems to suggest. Let me come to the defense of the president of the Law Society, Isaac Okero. Isaac Okero has not demonstrated any express affiliation with the NASA coalition. You can take that to the bank. And I think the association with which they purport to vilify him is merely because he's a Luo. You understand? And I think that is a very bad misconception that even permeated what we saw yesterday, because I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, the turnout we had yesterday was not anywhere comparable with the one we had when we were demonstrating against the police killing of lawyer Willie Kimani.
Yes.
Why is that so? Because some people think that this demonstration was as a result of the issue of Miguna Miguna. No, it is not because of Miguna Miguna. It is because of the general conduct of the executive in disobeying court orders. Because if you cocoon yourself to that mediocre understanding that this thing is isolated to Miguna Miguna, that we cannot support Miguna Miguna because he was part and parcel of the system that sought to swear in Raila Odinga, you miss the wider benefit of the legal process. And I think I must rebuke all those lawyers who purported to take a divisive point and not participate in this, because today it's Miguna Miguna. 2 years ago it was Willie Kimani. Tomorrow it will be you. And you see, when we have rogue elements who have control of power, as we have right now in this government, they will not discriminate when they want to take illegal action against you. They will not care whether you're Jubilee, they will not care whether you're Kikuyu, they will not care whether you're Luya, Kamba or Luo. And it is therefore my clarion call that there is more need than ever before within the law society for the lawyers to come up and unite and confront the state, confront the executive, confront the police, and ensure that there is obedience of court orders. Because as we can see right now, the person who's being targeted is Chief Justice David Maraga.
Oh, yes.
When they're done with David Maraga, what will be remaining? That's
a discussion I want us to get into after the break. What has been happening between the executive and the judiciary? The president has already changed his legal team. We've seen a reshuffle of judges in the recent past. We've seen that letter from Jubilee actually criticizing the judiciary and accusing them of bias. Now they say, and this has come from, and I've seen a headline to that effect, that the CJ is being targeted. NASA MP's alleged scheme to remove Chief Justice on page 6 of the Standard. We'll be looking at this and a lot more after the break.